It can be all-consuming. The pings, the likes, the follows. A new addiction has emerged in younger generations. Not drugs or alcohol, an addiction to social media.
And when you talk to kids and adolescents, they start to use language that sounds alarmingly like substance use and abuse.
TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, apps created deliberately to be addictive.
So when we look at companies like Google, Meta, what we find is they're hiring a great number of marketing and advertising executives, which makes sense, but also addiction specialists.
Dr. Josh Nadeau is an addiction specialist at Rogers Behavioral Health. He says social media apps are designed to be progressively habit-forming.
Designed to reinforce very strongly and very rapidly and very consistently. It hits those dopamine centers in our brain, the same as it would with any drug that we use, to bring about this feeling of kind of getting that fix.
Constantly feeding the addiction with every click, like, and scroll, like a slot machine with no jackpot. And nearly everyone has access to it. According to Common Sense Media, more than half of kids in the U.S. have their own smartphone by age 11, 69% by age 12, and nearly 20% of 8-year-olds now have a smartphone. As of today, 16 years after Facebook was first opened to the public, Wisconsin public schools are not required by the state to teach social media safety. And yet, back in 1983, the Drug Abuse Resistance Education, or DARE program, was created and later implemented in public school curricula nationwide to teach kids about the dangers of drug use. In the 80s and 90s, schools introduced sex education into the classroom in response to the AIDS epidemic. But right now, it's up to the local school districts to put systems in place on social media safety to educate and help protect our kids.
I think we've got a really great foundation of where we're starting from, but knowing that the internet changes every day, right? So knowing that there's always things that we can be teaching and learning.
Both Green Bay area public schools and Appleton area public schools have education tools in place for students and parents about social media safety.
We talk about digital citizenship and using appropriate use of technology, and that's kind of modeled throughout, permeates through the curriculum. We talk about being a responsible citizen.
But many schools across Northeast Wisconsin lack formal education for students and parents.
I think it would be good to have a minimum that's required from the state.
Yeah, I think it's something that should be put as a responsibility on the schools.
If social media education were to follow the same path as drug and sex education in public schools, some educators argue leaving it up to the Department of Public Education to decide the curriculum may slow down the process.
The legislature has a hard enough time agreeing on anything, and I think that they would probably get stymied trying to figure out what's the best way to move forward on that.
But these parents we spoke with say leaving it up to them to teach their kids how to navigate the world of social media is overwhelming.
It's exhausting as a parent, and it's a constant fear of am I doing this right? Am I monitoring enough?
With, video games, with YouTube, with all that, there's the instant gratification. And it's every 30 seconds they're getting dopamine. And it's hard to compete with that.
Coming up tomorrow, we talk with these 5 moms about what it's like to watch their kids struggle with social media addiction and the pressures parents feel to control it. Also this week, we'll take a look at some solutions that could offer parents, kids, and educators ways to navigate this digital drug.
Show of hands, how many of your kids using social media? Are you surprised by that?
No.
This group of local moms are in the throes of social media perils.
It's exhausting as a parent, and it's a constant fear of am I doing this right? Am I monitoring enough?
My daughter, she's not on social media, but she sees what it's done to some of her friends.
For many of them, social media has turned their home into a screen time battleground.
We have constant battles in our house related to, well, my friends are doing this and my friends are doing that.
With video games, with YouTube, with all that, there's the instant gratification. And it's every 30 seconds they're getting dopamine. And it's hard to compete with that.
Apps and online games spend millions to make them as addictive as possible, and it's working.
We keep them very busy. We're a sports family, we're a church family, right? We try to fill the gaps, but on their downtime, it's It's a go-to instant, in the car, phone out, on the couch, phone out, eating breakfast, phone out, right? And, well, I've got 5 minutes. Okay, well, buddy, your 5 minutes just turned into an hour because this never stopped.
The addiction has gone far beyond the struggle of screen time. These moms are seeing negative impacts on their kids' behavior.
I have one who is a gifted artist, like gifted. He never picks up all of his art stuff anymore, you know, as a teen, because his time is now filled up with just nothing. It's just nothing.
Now, to do a chore, he's like, oh, I don't feel good, or he makes up all these excuses. And I've noticed the more time he's had with the electronics, the lazier he's gotten.
According to Common Sense Media, 50% of teens feel they're addicted to their mobile devices. The addiction may not have the same effect as drugs or alcohol, but many worry about the long-term effects.
It just really decreases our children's ability to be resilient and push through hard things. Because if you don't like what you are doing or watching, X, find a new thing. X, you know, like you don't have to be in any state of distress if you don't want to. You just move right on to something you like better.
We know it's bad, but yet there's this tug of like, I can't take it totally away. In just an hour's fine, you know? It's like giving an alcoholic a drink and saying you have one drink, but not two.
But beyond what's going on in your house, the big thing that school districts or private schools are doing is this is their badge of honor that they've got, we're a one-to-one school. Each child has their own device. So how much screen time might they be having in school too that could be impacting this on our kids?
Do you guys think that the schools are teaching our kids how to use social media responsibly?
I've never seen anything. They even have reward days, bring your tablet to school day. I'm like, seriously?
It's assumed that everybody has one, right?
Yeah.
Many local school districts have systems in place to teach kids about social media and internet safety.
In my kids' middle school, 5th grade is middle school, they go through a digital literacy class, and I felt that they were taught a lot. I felt that the school did a great job with it.
But the curriculum is not mandatory.
I'm not feeling like I'm getting all of the education that I need to help my kids through it.
I want a class as a parent.
Correct.
I want the people who make the apps like to give me the down low on what's happening and all the pitfalls.
That's why it'd be great to have a program in school to help us and to help the kids and just to get more educated, to be more responsible, to know the safety of it, to know the do's and don'ts of it would be amazing.
And there are solutions. Companies who offer collaborative social media safety curriculum for students, educators, and parents. The International Society for Technology is one of them.
There are some schools that are teaching anti-cyberbullying, right? And again, it comes from a good place. They want to keep kids safe. But we don't teach anything else in an anti-way. We don't teach anti-illiteracy. We teach kids to love to read. Why don't we teach kids how to use technology to learn and engage with other people with similar and differing ideas, or how to use technology to make the world around them a better place? That's what we need to be teaching, and it should absolutely be taught in every school, no exception.
Coming up on part 3 of The Digital Drug, we introduce you to social media education programs that provide schools and families with tools to navigate the world of social media in a safe way. And it doesn't have to cost you or your child's school a dime. This is how our kids used to interact. It's been replaced with this. People of all ages spend time on social media, but according to the American Psychological Association, it's more harmful to kids.
When we look at adolescence, there is some communication that takes place, but far more of what we see is a comparison of sorts. Whether comparing my life to someone else's, comparing how I look to how someone else looks, comparing my reaction to something with how someone else reacts to it.
Those comparisons and compulsive clicks have evolved into a real addiction.
It's been designed to reinforce very, very strongly and very rapidly and very consistently. It hits those dopamine centers in our brain. the same as it would with any drug that we use to bring about this feeling of kind of getting that fix.
So how do we begin to treat something that's invisible? For starters, forget what you thought you knew about screen time.
The problem with the concept of screen time is it actually can create more damage than good, because it teaches kids that all activities that happen on the screen are of the same value. Well, nothing could be farther from the truth.
Richard Kalata, CEO of the International Society for Technology, says 30 minutes of video gaming doesn't have the same value as 30 minutes of FaceTime with family or friends.
Instead of talking about time, what we need to be talking about are what activities bring value, and when does any particular activity start to get out of balance, start to take too much of our energy away from other healthy activities.
Experts say we need to have boundaries and limits so it's being used in a healthy way.
There's a lot of focus on what I call the don'ts of using technology, right? Don't spend so much time on it. Don't share your password. Don't be a jerk online. Don't. It's all these don'ts. We have to flip that and say, here's what it looks like to be safe and healthy and inclusive and collaborative in a virtual space.
Kids are going to make mistakes in the digital world, and it's our responsibility to guide them and just to keep having open conversations.
Common Sense Media has been a resource for technology education. They give kids the tools to grow up with technology and still have a balanced life.
We have the signature digital citizenship curriculum for K-12. It is available at no cost for schools because thanks to our funders, we're philanthropically funded, so it's available for free.
Both companies are working with some teachers in schools across Wisconsin, but they say there's still a long way to go.
It's up to a district and a school because we don't have a nationally mandated curriculum in this country, but we do see states that are adopting policy and legislation.
If we don't embrace smart use of technology, we will have taken away our children's ability to solve problems, because all of the tough problems that we face, that they're going to face in the future, involve technology.
So let's be part of the solution and help teach our kids how to use technology in a safer way. Here are some tips to get that conversation going with your kids. Talk to them about the places they feel supported online. Ask if they've ever seen things online that make them feel unsafe. Think twice before taking away a phone as punishment. They may be using the device to cope with their own mental health. Pay close attention to their social media use if your child is already struggling offline. Watch for warning signs of mental health problems such as drugs and alcohol abuse and frequent sadness. And when talking with your kids isn't enough, parental controls can help you block websites, filter content, monitor their devices, and control specific apps, all to help keep your kids' internet experiences safe.